So, a little fun fact about me, I have never ever in my life participated in one of those monthly drawing challenges you see online. Until now. So did you know, there's apparently at least one drawing challenge for each month? I actually didn't until I started scripting for this video. That said, while I knew of a couple, I've never actually hit it to one of them before. Even when Faketober was the most popular it's ever been, I've never found it in myself to actually try to do any of it. I don't exactly remember what happened with Inktober, to be honest, but I do remember it becoming controversial a couple of years ago, which made me actually very glad to have never participated in it. But anyhow, I'm trailing off. Currently, there's drawing challenges like Mermaid, Kaiju, and Smoggest that occur in their respective months, May, June and August, which are pretty popular in the circles I'm in at least. But I never felt like it was something I really enjoyed to commit to. But honestly, just a few days ago, I kinda just found myself thinking about it so much, through which I kinda more or less convinced myself to join the Faketober challenge hosted by a friend of mine, Cursed Eye, who, by the way, was super nice when I asked them if they'd be chill with me making a video on the months I've drawn for Faketober so far. That, and they even offered me the reveal they made for the Faketober prop list, so I could feature it in the video for you guys to see too. So what is Faketober? Effectively, Faketober is its own variation on the Inktober idea, in which you get one of these prompts every day for the month of October, and would have to make a design based on the prompt at hand. So in this video I'll be showcasing the first 5 designs I made for Faketober. Considering this video is hopefully still going live on the 5th of October, and I just finished the design for the 5th of October earlier before starting scripting this video. I more or less plan to do a video every Saturday for the rest of October on Faketober. Granted, I'll be able to keep up with it, so while this video is likely gonna be a bit shorter, I expect the following ones to be a tiny bit longer, considering they'll have at least 7 designs each. So with that kind of a long intro done, let's get started. So day 1, evolution. In the rare case you don't know what that means, given that you're watching a Fakemon video, I kinda expect that you do. But an evolution refers to an evolved form of the Pokemon Eevee, which is instantly a very broad range to work with in my opinion. I've made 5 full designs for evolutions before I even committed to do this Faketober challenge, which are Ghost, Poison, Normal, Steel and Dragon type evolutions, which, stacked up with the 8 evolutions Eevee already has, left me with 5 types I didn't use before: Bug, Ground, Rock, Fighting and Flying. Flying being the type I committed to. I've had a fake idea for a flying type of evolution for a while now, but I've never actually fleshed it out, until this provided me with a perfect opportunity to. So I'd like you to meet Falcon, named after falconry, Valkyries, and the Eon suffix for evolutions. It builds on Eevee's already very fluffy mane, and of course its tail, and puffs it up to be as fluffy as cottony clouds. Also given it winged motifs, seen as on its front paws and its ears, and a little helmet look-alike on its forehead. And of course, next to its big fluffy tail, 2 extra tails that look like braids. Or at least, I hoped to accomplish them looking like braids, so they kinda give that Valkyrie appearance more. Falcon, the divine Pokémon. In a long bygone age, Falcon were named after heavenly maidens who had come to lay slain warriors to rest. To this day, Falcon stands by those who need protection. it aims to keep those safe who it cares for. It flies through the air with grace and ease. How it does so without wings is still unknown, though it is thought that it inflates its cloud-like fur to fly. Day 2. Possessed. And I instantly blanked for the prompt for day 2, which was a lot faster than I expected to. What was I gonna do? Demonic possession? That doesn't feel like Pokemon to me. Symbiotic possession? I honestly don't know where I would even start with that. But then I thought about ghost possession. I felt like there was something there to work with. Though it was still a bit vague to work with, I thought I did get an idea, a bit removed from possession itself, but I started thinking, what about possessed things? Though I'm gonna have to admit here, I've never actually seen this movie, but my head went to The Ring. So, this being me slightly cheating for this prompt, I would like you to meet a Pokemon you already know, but with a new look. Meet Rotom, television form. I went with Rotom, seeing as it already does possess television in its very first appearance, which is also the location where you catch it, and thought it would nicely lend itself to a television wall monitor playing The Ring, which itself is a possessed or cursed tape itself. Rotom, television form, the plasma Pokemon. This Rotom has entered a television monitor. It smirks and receives almost nothing but static when it inhabits this form. It is only at night that it seems to be able to broadcast. It only plays one recording late at night, every day. Those who've said to have seen it rarely are the same after witnessing the recording. So, day 3, Golem. And no, not Golem the Pokémon, a Golem. Typically, a golem is an animated anthropomorphic being, mostly from Jewish folklore, which is created entirely from inanimate matter, usually something like clay or mud. Now, like Golem, the Pokémon, I did choose to stick with rocks for my own idea, but mostly because I did feel like it could be more fun, and likely see why later in this video. Anyhow, let's meet the little big guy, Golemite, who gets its name from golem and mite. Quite honestly, it's just a little guy, but this little guy is me playing with the idea of the sword in the stone from the legend of King Arthur. You know, the one where he builds the sword from the stone and becomes king and all that. And quite honestly, it doesn't go deeper than that. The rest is me mostly stylizing it to look cooler, with some energy markings being a sort of reference to magic holding the sword in the stone, and the sword itself being styled after an honed edge that is kind of positioned in a way that implies it having a nose, unlike a Minecraft villager. Golemite, the stone golem Pokemon. Quietly and patiently it sits dormant in the forests or fields it's born in. Golemite comes alive when a sword comes lodged in a stone. After a few decades, the stone begins to form into Golemite, from remnants of passion and conviction left in the sword. When a Golemite gains a conscience, it will patiently wait for the person who lost their sword to return it to them. Though this rarely happens, as most have passed on or away by the time it comes to its senses. And here we are at day 4, Treasure. And then, like with day 2, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. In a way, to be honest, I know this idea would also fit thematically with Golemite. Back in 2021, I spent a month or two, maybe, creating a bunch of Fakemon to practice if I could actually make my own designs. And I think we can all guess what the answer I found was. Anyway, while doing this, I had made a design which I thought at the time was very clever for a newbie like I was back then. I just never did anything with it. But working through this Faketober prompt list, I knew that I would want to give this old design a brand new code and update it for day 4. So please meet Drake, the treasure hoard Pokemon. Drake gaining its name from abundance, and Drake, the type of dragon it is, considering it does lack its own pair of wings. Instead, it is covered in a golden coat and an armor that is a bit of a mix between dragon scales and a knight's armor, with the visor making up its own jaw. The idea behind Drake comes from dragon hoards. In plenty stories featuring dragons tend to hoard their own treasure with heaps of gold on which they sleep. I took that and made it so Drake does not only hoard treasure, it actually eats it, and then use materials such as gold, which it also used, to smelt that into its own coat of scales and golden armor it wears on its back. And that's honestly about it, but I quite like the idea behind it, and let me know if you do too. Drake, the treasure hoard Pokemon. Described in old fables from the Galos and Galar regions, a mighty Drake was said to protect a hoard of golden treasure, riches beyond your wildest dreams, if you returned from their quest to fetch it. It eats metals with ease. Any metal it consumes becomes fused with its own body, whereas the gold it eats, it carefully bonds to its coat. The more a Drake has eaten, the thicker its coat is. Okay, last one for this video. Day 5, Mythology. And having made an entire Greek region already, I already knew I wasn't gonna start with any of those again. Now, honestly, I did allude to it earlier, but I do believe the legends of King Arthur, Camelot, Excalibur, and everything else could be considered mythology on their own. So yeah, no long intro for this one needed. Meet the big lad himself, Eternite. While I kind of feel like the name could have used more work, you also realize that you are working with deadlines in a monthly drawing challenge, so you kind of have to move on. Besides, I still had this video to be done. It is the evolution to Golemite. I didn't think of a specific way to evolve it or anything, to be honest, but it's largely based on, again, golems, but more prominently, in my opinion, knights, and the Knights of the Round Table, to be specifically, King Arthur himself, and the Sword in Stone, all in one actually, which are all, for the most part, centered on top of the design itself, being the rocks around and behind the sword in Eternite's head, which has now been changed to look like an Aegislash itself. The rocks on top of the design are meant to resemble the Knights of the Round Table, but also a crown, in the way they are positioned, with Eternite's head being both a stand-in for the Round Table, but also a stone in which the sword is lodged itself, effectively making the head a sort of a podium too. Eternite, the Eternal Guardian Pokémon. The sword lodged in its head is described in ancient tales only to come loose if pulled by someone worthy. These same tales indicate that it only having happened once. Its gentle and noble nature make it easy to approach. Though there are few Eternite in the wild left, those that are often provide shelter underneath itself for smaller Pokémon. Phew, 1 week, or most of a week at least, done. I'll be doing my best to keep up with Faketober. If you are into things like this yourself, I'll make sure to put a link in the description to the prompt list. And if you like this style of content, or the video itself, please consider leaving a like, commenting or subscribing. It would mean a lot to me, and it would make me able to see that you liked the video. And besides, it's just genuinely just me doing this for the video and trailing off. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that I may see you again next week. Bye! Oh, P.S. YouTube thinks you might like this video too.